Boris, Disney obviously well known for a number of things, but not necessarily area development. So it'd be really interesting to catch up a little bit more on Val d'Europe as a project.
So, as you said, Disney is well known for a lot of things, but not necessarily for urban development. So, the project we're talking about here, Val d'Europe, started about 35 years ago when Disney and the French government decided to have the park on the eastern side of Paris. The French government back in the days decided to develop the eastern side of Paris, which was compared to the western side and other parts of Paris and Ile-de-France, the greater Paris region, underdeveloped. The park was the starting point, and around that, Disney was given land rights to develop Val d'Europe as it stands today. So 35 years ago, there was nothing but fields and greens, a park, and a few buildings around. Today, 35 years later, this has turned into one of the most dynamic business communities and residential communities in France, actually, and on the eastern side of Paris. We went from 0 inhabitants to about 55,000 inhabitants today. We went from 0 companies, except Disney, to about 7,300 companies in Val d'Europe today. We created 44,000 jobs on site with these 7,300 companies. Only 50% of the land that we work on with the French government has been developed. So 35 years, I think we have another 10, 20, 30 years to go until everything has been developed to full extent.
I guess in terms of the project at the moment, are you looking to collaborate with other investors as you move forward?
Yes. So as part of our overall agreement with the French government, we plan in phases. We're currently in phase 4. We're going to phase 5. As part of these phases, we clearly define which plot of land serves which purpose. And then we're reaching out to investors to say, are you interested in coming to Val d'Europe? What are you planning to do, either residential or commercial? And we're looking at opportunities within the land we have. Where could these companies be located? We have a dedicated area it's called the business park, where we have a high concentration of small and medium-sized companies. We have an area where we actually have logistic, even though logistic is not one of the key elements, but it's just along the A4, the freeway that leads to Paris and back into the eastern side of France and Germany. And across Val d'Europe, we have several areas where we locate strategically companies, anything from services, banking, to small manufacturing, logistics.
And there's a lot of focus at the moment, Boris, in terms of livability in cities, also social impact, social value. So I guess how are you incorporating those kinds of ideas into the area?
We have the unique advantage that we're building from scratch. Again, we had only fields and forests and streams and rivers at the time we started. As part of these master plans that we develop, we actually dedicate specific land just for green spaces, public spaces, parks, water, bicycle path. That's built into the overall plan. It's a key element of our advantage in Val d'Europe. It's a very livable community where it don't overdevelop. We don't have high rises. We don't have massive residential blocks. And we're pursuing an approach of the 10 to 15 minute community where everything you need for your daily needs is within a 10 to 15 minute walk, from kindergarten to school to your little retail store, restaurants, whatever you need. Plus, of course, public transportation. It's a key element of our development. And again, it serves us that we build from scratch because other parts in France, in Europe, where they're redeveloping industrial areas, they need to work with existing infrastructure potentially, and that makes it harder for them. But for us, it's a unique opportunity.
And you mentioned there sustainability, but also energy. And obviously there is a big focus in terms of cities at the moment on renewable energy especially, and biodiversity as well from the discussions we've been having. So I guess, is that something you've been able to integrate into Val d'Europe?
So we've been working on this for a very long time actually. Today we have a geothermal and energy plant on property in Val d'Europe that serves a resort that's located on the land, but it also serves the community. The geothermal was started in 2017, 2018. It's a 2-kilometer pipe into the ground that pumps hot water into the resort and into, again, the community for heating purposes. We are looking at biomass energy plants being built over the next couple of years. I think 3 are currently in the pipeline. pipeline. We have one very innovative project currently. One of our investors, they have a big data center on ground on property, and we use the heat produced by these server farms to actually heat the swimming pool in the business park and to heat the office buildings in the business park. It's a very unique project that garnered a lot of attention. And Disney itself, we actually built one of the largest solar canopy plants in Europe over our parking plot. 11,200 parking spaces will now be covered with solar panels. 88,000 in total. We're producing 36 gigawatt of energy, serving 17,000, the equivalent of 17,000 people living there. So yes, big focus on sustainability, also by the Walt Disney Company that published environmental targets a long time ago. On the diversity front, as I mentioned before, 30% of our spaces are green spaces. We strategically locate water ponds, and you see plants and animals coming back into the community that you would never expect to see in an urban development like this. But because it's such a strategic focus for us, we create these opportunities for biodiversity. On the social side, in Val d'Europe, we have 55,000 people living there, 88 different nationalities. It's a very young, dynamic neighborhood. It's a very diverse neighborhood community. So we're actually pretty proud of what we've accomplished over the years.
Really interesting to catch up on the project, Boris. Going to be fascinating to see how that develops, and I look forward to seeing how everything progresses over the next year or so. Thanks very much for joining us.